contact with somebody in one of these dimensions, then we don't bang our heads on the wall. We try and find one of the others, which is a little easier, and then get in there, and then it will tend to resonate inwards. So this is a very important concept, a very basic concept. Of course, there are many concepts which we're using, but this is maybe, one of the most fundamental.
Yeah. Is there anything more you need to say about the life fields?
Well, what else do you want to know?
How did they arise for you as a set of concepts? Was it through observation?
I did not start with this concept. It came maybe halfway through my work. It came probably when I was trying to teach it, as I was developing a systematic training. And the training, of course, was developed together with Sylvia, so this came out of our discussions, how to present the work. It was just a way of trying to systematize the different levels we were already working with, and to begin to see them as a set of fields. And around the same time I developed the concept of motoric fields. But a motoric field is simply the first of the life fields. It's patterns of movement. And it's called a field because a movement pattern is not just a movement pattern. A particular movement pattern, if it's connected, will have a certain kind of breathing with it, it will have a certain feeling state, it will create a communication in the relationship. It can be translated into words and it has a value. So the motoric field is simply the life fields arising from a particular movement.
Movement in what sense?
Expressive movement.
Physical movement? Or?
Yes, a visible movement you could see on the video. Let's take a common one. Let's take it from the early history of everybody. The baby reaches out to the mother. So there's a movement of reaching. The movement of reaching is related to an emotion of hope. It's communication in the relationship. I would like something from you. I want to make contact. There's an image, an expectation to get something back. And there's a spiritual quality. It's an attitude of trust in the other human being. So this gesture of reaching, if it's a contactful gesture in a relationship, is one example of a motoric field. If I just reach out and take a cup off the shelf, then it's still a reaching gesture, but because it's more mechanical, it doesn't have all these other aspects. So the motoric field is particularly when the physical gesture is meaningful, is emotionally expressive. And that's, but you can have a life, you can have any of the other life fields, and they may not present in the first instance in a movement. So you could have a dream, and the person discusses a dream, and you're working with the imaginal life field, the life field where people express themselves in imagery. And of course many therapists work with dreams, but when we're working with dreams or images, we're trying to find a way to get them connected to the body. So the body can get the benefit of the dream. And so that might involve a gesture, encouraging a gesture related to the dream. And then we would then stimulate the movement response as a secondary resonance to the primary expression channel, which would be in the dream. And so the whole point is to try to connect these life fields with each other, because the essence of neurosis is they get disconnected from each other.
What for you is the relationship between ideas and the body?
Ideas and the body. Let's start with the word theory. Theory is a Greek word and it means a way of seeing. And ideas also have a lot to do, and theories have a lot to do with science, which is ways of knowing. And as you know, we just came from a conference where we were looking at 4 different ways of knowing. And the most fundamental of these ways of knowing is knowing ourselves. And this, of course, is a message of the Greek oracle, Delphi, know yourself. And in our work with people, we are trying to help them to know themselves. So the idea is actually one of the life fields. It's a cognitive life field where you have thoughts, perceptions. You have perceptions of yourself, images of yourself, perceptions of the other, images of the other, perceptions of the world, images of the world. Some of these images are images which have grown from contact with oneself. They are, let's say, self-friendly ideas, and other ideas are ideas which we have been conditioned to take in from outside, and they are more like imprints, or the technical word is introjects. They have been thrown into us by that we've incorporated them at the cost of ourselves. But if we don't undo that, then the idea, I should think of an example. Let's say a particular, any societal value that is imposed on us at the cost of our vitality, at the cost of our autonomy, can be dangerous. So the whole theme of indoctrination. Indoctrination is pumping ideas into a whole population because somebody thinks they're good for you. And then we're back to this concept of polarity, that what is good for one person may be terrible for the next. Indoctrination is putting ideas into people from outside rather than encouraging them to form their perceptions and their conceptions out of their digestion of their own experience. And undigested experience leads to unrooted ideas. So we have a lot of, in our training we have people from all kinds of backgrounds. We have people, different religions, no religion at all, different political systems. And we find in the course of 3 years experience with trainees that a shared language arrives of respect for the individuality of people's feelings, respect for the individuality of people's values, provided these values and ideas are connected to the self-knowledge. And if somebody can't contact that, if they are too resistant to that, then we have, in effect, the example of disembodied ideas. And in the Reichian tradition, ideas and concepts are part of character structure. So if somebody has not worked on the character structure, the ideas are rather fossilized. And working on one's character is loosening the soil of ideas so that maybe old ideas in the form of weeds might die out and new ideas in the form of seeds might grow up.
Do you believe the apparent problems in people's lives always present an opportunity for growth, or do you think there's such a thing as a purely negative experience?
A therapist came to me for supervision, and the therapist told me the following story about a client. The client was 8 years old. They had 3 or 4 brothers and sisters, and they had